January 6, 2025, News Report 1. On January 6, 2025, Canada's Minister of Immigration, Mark Miller, announced a new decision. Starting in 2025, the Canadian government will cease accepting family reunification immigration applications for parents and grandparents. The Immigration Department will only process applications submitted in 2024 for such immigration visas. The Family Reunification Immigration Program for parents and grandparents has traditionally allowed Canadian citizens or permanent residents to apply for permanent residency for their parents or grandparents. However, due to the overwhelming number of applications, the program now operates through a lottery system, with only those selected in the lottery being eligible to submit an application. Despite this, Canadian citizens and permanent residents can still apply for the Super Visa for parents and grandparents. This visa allows parents or grandparents to stay in Canada for up to 5 years. This policy adjustment is primarily due to the rapid growth in immigration numbers, which has put significant pressure on Canadian society. This move reflects Canada's intention to adjust its immigration policies and significantly reduce immigration numbers to ease the societal burden. News Report 2. On January 3, a Chinese cargo ship, the Xuanqing 39, was accused of damaging the submarine cable of Chunghua Telecom in the northeastern waters off Taiwan's Yalu. According to online reports of the ship's navigation track, the Xuanqing 39 made an H-shaped detour in an area densely packed with cables, which raised suspicions of deliberate damage to the underwater cables. Upon receiving the report, Taiwan's Coast Guard swiftly took action to intercept the cargo ship. However, due to bad weather, the Coast Guard was unable to board the vessel for inspection. After a brief radio communication with the captain, the ship was allowed to continue on its journey towards Busan, South Korea. Taiwan's government has requested South Korea's assistance in investigating the incident. According to the Financial Times, the Xuanqing 39 flies the flag of Cameroon and belongs to a shipping company registered in Hong Kong. The only listed manager of the company, Guo Wenjie, is a Chinese national. The damaged cable is part of the Trans-Pacific Express cable system, co-owned by Chunghua Telecom, AT&T, NTT, Korea Telecom, and China Telecom, which connects Taiwan to the U.S. West Coast and is an important international communication infrastructure. On January 6, another Mongolian cargo ship, Baoshun, sailed in the same area along an S-shaped path, about 400 meters from the submarine cable. The ship claimed engine failure and had to stay in place but later departed Taiwan's waters after repairs. In recent years, there have been frequent incidents of damage to submarine cables and other critical infrastructures, particularly after 2023. For instance, in February of last year, 2 submarine cables off Matsu, Taiwan, were cut. In October, the Chinese cargo ship, Xinjiang Arctic Lion, damaged a natural gas pipeline in the Baltic Sea. In November, the Yipeng 3 severed 2 submarine cables in the Baltic Sea, and in December, the Russian cruise ship Eagle S damaged the underwater cables between Estonia and Finland. International analysis suggests that these incidents are not coincidental. Damaging submarine cables and gas pipelines as critical infrastructures could cause significant economic and societal disruptions. These acts of sabotage are seen as part of a limitless war, aiming to create strategic threats against other countries through unconventional methods. Taiwan emphasizes that maintaining the safety of submarine cables is a global challenge and calls for greater international cooperation to prevent such incidents. News Report 3. According to the Liberty Times in Taiwan, the National Security Unit recently received intelligence indicating that intermediaries were helping Taiwanese people obtain Chinese residence permits, bank cards, and phone cards for profit. Each transaction reportedly earns the intermediary a reward of 3,000 renminbi. Based on analysis from Taiwan's National Security Unit, these intermediaries are actively facilitating the application of Chinese documents for Taiwanese citizens, not only to earn unified front fees from China but also allegedly selling the bank accounts and phone numbers obtained through these transactions to criminal organizations, which use them for telephone fraud and other illegal activities. In addition, recent reports suggest that some intermediaries have even entered Taiwanese university campuses, actively recruiting students to apply for Chinese documents. They promote the idea that only those holding Chinese documentation can enjoy conveniences such as scanning QR codes for transportation and shopping services in China. Taiwan's National Security Unit has urged the public to be cautious when applying for such documents to avoid becoming victims of illegal activities. It also emphasized the need for stricter regulation of intermediaries to prevent the misuse of personal information for fraud or other illegal acts. News Report 4. According to a video on Twitter, on January 6, in Weinan, Shaanxi Province, thousands of citizens clashed with police, even throwing stones and using fire extinguishers to confront the authorities. The protesters were demanding the release of the truth behind the death of a student at the Pucheng Vocational Education Center. During the clash, police used batons to beat isolated protesters, causing several people to suffer head injuries. The protests are still ongoing, with some citizens being arrested by the police. The incident began on January 1, when 17-year-old student Dang Changxin from the Pucheng Vocational Education Center fell to his death from a building. It was reported that Dang had argued with his dorm mates, Gua and Su, leading to a physical altercation. In the early hours of January 2, Gua, Su, and other students beat Dang and pushed him out of the window, resulting in his death. After the incident, the school attempted to cover up the information, and local authorities claimed Dang's death was a suicide. This has sparked strong dissatisfaction among the family and local citizens. On January 4, family members and residents of Pucheng began protesting outside the school. Protesters claimed that one of the students who pushed Dang out of the window was the child of a local official, which further fueled public anger and led to widespread discussion on social media. News Report 5. According to CCTV, on the morning of January 4 at 8 a.m., a severe fire broke out at the Ligang vegetable market in Zhangjiago, Hebei Province, resulting in 8 deaths and 15 injuries. Video footage from the scene shows the market engulfed in flames, with thick smoke filling the air. The Ligang vegetable market was built in 2011 and has only 2 1-meter-wide aisles inside, with no fire exits, and only 2 exits at each end. Due to the sudden nature of the fire, many people were unable to escape in time, suffering burns or suffocation. The incident exposed serious deficiencies in the market's design and safety facilities. Relevant authorities are investigating the cause of the fire and providing support to the families of the victims. News Report 6. On January 3, Zhang Daibing, a renowned Chinese drone expert and founder of Yunzihang Technology in Changsha, Hunan, fell to his death at the age of 47. According to insiders, Zhang had borrowed money from an online lending company and ultimately resorted to ending his life due to mounting debt. Zhang was a former deputy director at the UAV Systems Research Institute of the National University of Defense Technology, NUDT, and a member of the Chinese People's Liberation Army's expert group on new UAV systems. He joined NUDT in 1997 and dedicated himself to research in the field of drone systems, earning a reputation as a technical authority. In 2017, Zhang left his former position to start his own company. However, his entrepreneurial venture failed, leading to a broken financial chain. Ultimately, Zhang chose to end his life. Most people believe his fall was a suicide. News Report 7. According to Huashang Daily, a shopping mall in Changchun, Jilin Province, called Sky High Vitality City, has introduced a new practice where employees can use consumer vouchers as payment for their salaries. Starting January 6, employees can use these vouchers to shop at the mall. From January 4, employees began receiving these vouchers, which include denominations of 5, 50, and 100 yuan, printed with the words Chongqing Road Vitality City Mall and Dazhong Real Estate. According to Chinese labor law, wages should be paid in cash on a monthly basis, and this practice clearly violates that regulation. However, the issue is not limited to Sky High Vitality City. Netizens have reported that similar practices are spreading across different regions, with some employers using their own consumer vouchers to replace actual wages. This has sparked widespread attention. News Report 8. On January 5, the Sanglian Life Weekly published an article on its WeChat account titled, "More and more hospitals are facing bankruptcy. Will healthcare become more expensive?" The article highlights that, in the aftermath of the pandemic, a large number of enterprises in China are facing bankruptcy. Online data shows that last year, over 1,200 records related to hospital bankruptcies were filed, with over 800 cases in 2023 and more than 500 in 2022. Yu Xiaobao, Vice President of the Private Enterprise Management Branch of the China Hospital Association, stated that over 2,000 private enterprises, mostly private hospitals, have gone bankrupt since the outbreak of the pandemic, including some public hospitals. Public hospitals rely primarily on two sources of funding, government subsidies and market earnings. However, with most payments for medical services now made through medical insurance cards, funds end up with the insurance bureau. Because the insurance bureau has insufficient funds, many public hospitals cannot receive reimbursement, leading to financial difficulties and even bankruptcy. The article points out that the widespread closure of public hospitals is a result of the collapse of the healthcare system, particularly the insurance system, which has failed to provide adequate funding. News Report 9. Radio Free Asia reported a shift in the comments section of the U.S. Embassy in China's social media accounts. Although the wolf warrior diplomacy and aggressive statements still persist, there has been an increase in friendly comments between China and the U.S. The embassy's Weibo account now features two types of comments, one supportive of wolf warrior diplomacy and the other friendly toward U.S.-China relations. For instance, during the New Year holiday, the U.S. Embassy posted a message on Weibo reflecting on the history of U.S.-China diplomatic relations, which received over 300 comments, mostly expressing friendly sentiments. On January 2, the embassy posted about the tragic incident in New Orleans, with over 80 comments mostly expressing condolences and wishing for peace between the two countries. However, on January 6, after the embassy shared a statement from the U.S. State Department condemning cyber attacks on the U.S., the comments section saw over 500 posts, all criticizing the U.S. This shift in public opinion indicates a significant change in Chinese public sentiment. While criticisms still exist, there is now an increasing number of pro-China and friendly remarks, which could potentially create space for changes in public opinion, especially if Donald Trump returns to power. News Report 10. Xinhua News reported that the National Propaganda Ministers' meeting took place on January 3 and 4 in Beijing. Kai Chi, who oversees ideological work, delivered a speech at the meeting, calling for stronger guidance on economic propaganda and better public opinion management. What does this mean? In simple terms, it means continuing to promote positive messaging about the economy, publishing optimistic statements, and providing the Chinese people with favorable economic expectations. This is an effort to guide public opinion and bolster confidence in the economic outlook, avoiding negative impacts or misunderstandings. As we have mentioned before, only Chinese people misjudge the economic situation. Kai Chi's remarks about strengthening economic propaganda and expectations aim to ensure the continuation of this public opinion control and maintain positive packaging of the economic situation. Additionally, the National Radio and Television Work Conference also took place on January 3 and 4, addressing short video regulation issues. The conference decided that short video projects with investments over 1 million yuan would be managed by the National Radio and Television Administration, projects between 300,000 and 1 million yuan would be managed by provincial-level departments, and projects below 300,000 yuan would be self-regulated by platforms. The tightening of short video regulation is gradually reducing investor interest. News Report 11. According to the Liberty Times, former U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo attended the Fujihui Forum in Taiwan on January 6 and gave a speech. Pompeo stated that Xi Jinping will not decide the future of Asia and Taiwan, and the United States will fulfill its promise to end strategic ambiguity. He emphasized that the U.S. must send a clear message to China alongside Taiwan and free countries in the Indo-Pacific region. Taiwan is independent and free, and the future of Asia and Taiwan will be decided by the people of these democratic countries. Pompeo also mentioned that the U.S. must continue to communicate this message and noted that President Trump's stance on China will not change significantly, continuing to view China as an adversarial power and responding to China based on real circumstances. News Report 12. According to Asia Radio, the June 4th Memorial Hall in New York will be relocated to Los Angeles this year. Wang Dan, the chairman of the memorial, stated that rents in Los Angeles are lower than in New York, and moving to Los Angeles will allow the memorial to expand. Another reason is the growing Chinese population in Los Angeles, with many Chinese immigrants settling there in the past decade. Therefore, Wang Dan believes that relocating the memorial to Los Angeles will have a greater impact. News Report 13. According to Lianhe Xiaobao, the Vietnamese government announced that it will cancel the tax-exempt policy for low-priced imported goods starting February 18. The goal is to combat the influx of Chinese goods being dumped into Vietnam via e-commerce platforms. Since 2010, items worth less than $40 have been exempt from taxes when imported into Vietnam, usually through express shipping. The Vietnamese Ministry of Finance pointed out that most of these exempted goods enter through e-commerce platforms, causing difficulties for traditional retailers and other e-commerce platforms in Vietnam. Additionally, Shein entered Vietnam 3 years ago, and Temu entered in September last year. Temu has now been required to suspend its operations in Vietnam due to not completing the necessary business registration and other formalities. News Report 14. According to Jimyan Financial News under the Electric Factory, car media, since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, China has become Russia's largest car import market due to Western sanctions. Data from the association shows that from January to November last year, China exported 1.06 million cars to Russia, an increase of 26% year-over-year. Chinese brand cars accounted for 68% of the Russian new car market. However, since November last year, Chinese car sales have declined, due to two restrictive policies introduced by Russia. The first policy, effective from October 1, 2024, requires all Chinese cars transported via Central Asian countries to Russia to pay all taxes, eliminating the tax exemption. The second policy, effective from November 1, increases the recycling fee on imported cars by 80%. This recycling fee is for environmental disposal when the car is scrapped. Due to these two policies, the overall cost of Chinese cars has risen by 10%, leading to higher prices and a decline in sales. News Report 15. According to Radio France, on January 5, 2025, Ukrainian forces launched a large-scale counteroffensive against Russia's Kursk region, sending at least 6 brigades, around 20,000 soldiers, to attack. Ukrainian troops advanced from the city of Sudzha, following the 2-200 highway toward the large village of Solodaskoye in Kursk, with fighting breaking out simultaneously in several villages. Ukraine deployed tanks, infantry fighting vehicles, armored cars, and artillery, continuously advancing into the Kursk region. During the attack, Ukraine used a variety of tactical measures, attempting to break through Russia's defenses from multiple angles, including drones and electronic warfare systems. Reports indicate that Russian drones lost contact automatically when approaching Ukrainian heavy equipment, suggesting that the Ukrainian military coordinated aerial support with ground attacks, highlighting the scale of the counteroffensive. The counteroffensive's opponents included North Korean special forces and Chechen troops assisting Russia. Ukrainian President Zelensky stated that a North Korean infantry unit was lost near a village in Kursk. Twitter user Alexan pointed out that the counteroffensive had been long in preparation, possibly to divert Russian attention and provide Ukraine with more bargaining power for future strategic negotiations. Some analysts believe the counteroffensive is part of Ukraine's preparation for upcoming international negotiations, especially in light of the potential return of Trump to office, which may necessitate stronger bargaining positions with Russia. Therefore, Ukraine is aiming to seize more Russian territory in the counteroffensive to gain leverage for future exchanges. News Report 16. According to Yonhap News Agency, since South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol's failed declaration of martial law on December 3, 2022, South Korean society has been experiencing intense division and confrontation. Specifically, After the arrest warrant for Yoon expired on January 6, the Senior Public Official Criminal Investigation Department, took two countermeasures. First, the department announced that it would apply for an extension of the arrest warrant's duration. Secondly, the department requested the police to execute the arrest warrant, but the police refused, citing legal disputes over the warrant and noting that it was unprecedented for the police to replace the Public Investigation Department in executing an arrest. On January 3, the Joint Martial Law Investigation Team attempted to enter the former presidential office to arrest Yoon, but was blocked by presidential guards and failed to execute the arrest. Meanwhile, on the morning of January 6, Yoon's supporters gathered outside the presidential residence to prevent the arrest, while dozens of opponents also gathered nearby, expressing dissatisfaction with the failure to execute the arrest warrant. News Report 17. According to Voice of America, the U.S. experienced its largest snowstorm in 10 years on January 5, affecting over 60 million people, causing about 2,200 flight cancellations and over 25,000 delays. The snowstorm hit 5 states, including Kentucky and Virginia, and declared a state of emergency in these areas. The storm's effects are expanding from the U.S. Midwest to the East Coast. It is expected that by January 6, snowfall from Ohio to Washington will reach 15 to 30 centimeters. The National Weather Service has advised people to avoid traveling during this period due to the potential for severe ice on roads. Meanwhile, China's National Meteorological Center also announced that a cold front on January 6 will impact southwest areas such as Sichuan, Yunnan, Guizhou, and Chongqing, with temperatures potentially dropping by more than 8 degrees Celsius in some regions, and ice and snow expected in certain areas. News Report 18. According to reports, Chinese actor Wang Xing went missing in Thailand on January 3. Wang Xing had appeared in several television dramas, such as The Story of Roses. According to a post by Wang Xing's girlfriend on Weibo, Wang Xing had planned to go to Thailand for a film shoot, departing from Shanghai on January 3 and arriving in Bangkok. Afterward, Wang Xing boarded a vehicle arranged by the crew, which took him to a location near the Myanmar border. He has been out of contact since then, and the area is close to a fraudulent camp. Another actor, Su Daeju, revealed that he had video-called Wang Xing and confirmed that Wang Xing had been taken to the scam camp and had his hair shaved. Su Daeju also mentioned that although there are reports of China cracking down on telecom fraud activities, these fraudulent camps are still operating, and the situation is severe.